how to say, I'm a religious user of Cubase. That's my
Yeah,
main DAW.
yeah.
I have Pro Tools. I,
Hmm.
I have Logic on here, but
Hmm.
I use Cubase. That's what I use. So
That's what's up. Shout out to Steinberg, man.
my question to you is, why do you use
Hmm.
Cubase, and why, and in this world to where that isn't the favorite, why do you use it?
Okay, word. So there's two parts to that. The first part with that is, I've been on Cubase for a long time. I started on Nuendo and then switched to Cubase, which is similar. I just don't do as much like post production film work, so I didn't need everything that Nuendo had. But when I started Nuendo one in like 2000,
Mm,
right? And I went with Nuendo at that point over Pro Tools because it had everything in there, right? Pro Tools, especially then, is great for recording, editing audio, mixing, but the MIDI capabilities, especially in 2000, were pretty much non-existent. Now Pro Tools is stronger in the MIDI, but as far as programming and producing within the DAW, Cubase got it. Cubase has got it, and anything you need, it's all in there. If you need time align vocals, you can go get vocal line, or you could do that right in Cubase. It comes with it. If you need to do pitch correction, you can go get Melodyne, or you can use Very Audio right there in Cubase. Is right there. So first off, I'm thrifty. Feel me? So if I will have to buy 6 pieces of software, I could buy one that's doing everything. I'm already there. Um, and then over the years, I just got fast and comfortable. I can use Cubase in my sleep. I know Pro Tools. If you want to work around in different studios, Pro Tools is still the most common, although that's changing because, again, that even playing field, any DAW that you use is good enough and strong enough to make a professional record on.
all right.
So now we got to use what we're best on, right? Like, I know people who mix all their records in Ableton Live. And in my mind, I'm like, this is not set up in the way that I just work in my workflow. But that doesn't mean you can't make a hit record in Ableton. That happens every day, right? But the idea for engineering specifically is that when you're the engineer, if you're recording or you're mixing, the technical aspects of things need to be invisible, right? Like if you're doing a vocal session, the engineer doesn't get to be the one to slow everybody down. Like, oh, wait, what's the key command? I got to go to the menu. I got to do this.
Right, right,
Everybody in the room is looking at you like, B, you're supposed to be the technician here. You're supposed to know what
right.
it is, right? So I need something that I'm seamless and it's like, oh, you want that? I'm already set up. Yeah, no, 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 tell me. I'm good. I got, and it's just so invisible that I'm giving my clients the best service, right? So nowadays, and this is the main thing, whatever, for all the listeners, whatever you're best on, use that. If I book you and you're like, I record in Reaper, okay, let's go, but I expect your Reaper skills to be nice.
Hmm.
It can be whatever because you can do any kind of record in any of the software, but I need to know that you're going to be operating at your peak performance. That's our job.
That's a very good answer. I get a lot of people when they come in the studio session with me, and they'll ask, they'll be like, "Hey, yo, what's this program you using? I've never heard of it." And then I say, and they be like, really? Well, why don't you use Pro Tools, or why don't you use Logic, or why don't you? And to all the reasons why you just said is the reason to why I use Cubase. I started early off like you, maybe not that early, not New Window One,
Mm,
nowhere close. I think
mm-hmm.
I started off like when I started off on Cubase 4. When Cubase
Okay.
4 first came out. So that was a
Mm-hmm.
while ago.
Sure.
And then I just used it because that's what was the best all in one type situation I could find at the time. And I wanted to jump ship for many years until Steinberg always gave me a reason to
Mm-hmm.
not,
Mm-hmm.
and now
Mm-hmm.
it's like what you said, with very audio, you don't have to get Melodyne, even down to vocal line, that feature right there is a godsend. It's a
Mm-hmm.
godsend if you work with anybody who's extremely vocally savvy and want to stack a million times, or you have a
Mm-hmm.
million different voices. You can click a button and it saves some people, hours of nudging
Dog,
It's
it's like that.
ridiculous.
I
It's
used to do all of my vocal edits, all that time aligning by hand for a long time before I ever even had Vocaline. And, depending on what it was, if it was like a pop thing or R&B thing, that might be hours and hours of editing, and you're moving breaths around, you're moving certain consonants around, because that sound that you hear on the radio, it's a lot that went into that. And I was doing all that by hand. And then I got Vocaline. I was like, oh, okay, I got my time back, right? And then when Cubase put it in there, and that was a step up from Vocaline for a while now. But you see, now Vocaline just dropped the new update, right? Because all the software companies are looking at each other
right,
and stealing game from each other. It's like,
right.
oh, okay, well, Pro Tools is doing that, Avid's doing that. Well, that's got to be in the next Cubase revision. Oh, okay, well, Cubase is doing this. Well, our next Vocaline thing has got to be there. So the fact that everything is more diversified and democratic means that the developers got to step their game up to
Mhm.
give us what we need, because with so many people using technology, the demand for quality is higher.
Yeah, and like what you just said, and I'm not trying to make this a Cubase plug, but Cubase, if you do want to sponsor the channel for any reason, given in this episode, please feel free to contact me at keithkeys.com. But other than that, other than that, I really do love Cubase for the updates that they're doing. They're always giving you the right tools that they think that you should need, and it turns out to be the right tool that you do need. So
Hmm.
that's kind of been my reason for not jumping ship, because I have like every other doll for, if somebody sends me a session or if I have to, interact with somebody else. But really, Cubase has just been awesome. But it was just amazing for me to see you use Cubase and a lot of your tutorials that you have. And I even saw the tutorial where you did a record with stock Cubase plugins and stuff like
Hmm.
that, and that was just amazing to me. So, and to me, when I watch YouTube videos, um, when I see people who use the same software that I use in the fashion that I would use it, I can understand it a lot better sometimes. So,
Hmm.
seeing you do that, I'm like, oh, I didn't even know. I didn't even know that you could do a low cut on the pre. I always just
Hmm.
use band one. Like I
Right.
never.
Well, and there's so many nuances, because all the software can do so many things. Logic is so powerful,
Right.
but that's not where my head is. And I'm a PC user rather than a Mac user, so I'm not even on Logic. And there's another example of people tell you, well, you need to have a Mac running Pro Tools to make a real record. Nah, yo, it's not 2001 anymore. Like, it's not. It's not like that. Like, it's all even. It's just really, what are you comfy with? Because that's what I want. You don't go have your house built and then give the contractor your saw and be like, build it with this. No, they got their tools. Let them cook.